Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage for another First Impressions and Upcoming Projects video. And once again, I have to give the caveat to all of the videos that I make like this on this channel, the Texas Gun Vault 2. Of course, that implies there's a Texas Gun Vault 1, or really just the Texas Gun Vault. And that's where I place and upload all of my proper, edited, and finalized range reports. And those are where you can see all of the full videos and the reviews and all the shooting of all these guns. This is my behind the scenes channel, and it's where I make content just here in my garage in a very casual way. And I just give, for example, today, the first impressions of guns that I took to the range. So these are not official reviews. So you don't have to tell me in the comment section that this is the worst review you've ever seen, because it's not a review. It's just me talking to my biggest fans. And we're going to put that, of course, in air quotes. And we got a lot to talk about today. I mean, a lot. I took a few guns to the range, and I have some upcoming projects to talk about. And let's go ahead and talk about what I took to the range first, because I think that's what most people come here and watch these videos for. We're going to start off with the one that I took to the range last night, and one that I have been so excited to shoot and review. This is the Walther P5. Now, I made a mistake in my last video. I said this was a Walther P5 compact because the owner's manual that the owner of this, Brian, has says compact. However, this is not a compact. One of my astute viewers here said, "Are you sure that's a compact?" and sent me a picture. And I was like, no, that's definitely not the compact. And then I looked at some side-by-side comparisons. This is the full size, even though it kind of feels like a compact size handgun. It's probably a little bit shorter than a Glock 19. So I think in kind of modern parlance, people would consider this a compact sized handgun, but it's the full size one, which is really interesting. So why do we have the compact manual but a full size handgun? I'm not 100% sure. It could be that there was an owner in the distant past that had this, and maybe he had both and the manuals just got switched up. Okay, so let's talk about the cool things about this gun in case you missed the last video. This was a gun that was designed in Germany, I believe in the 1980s, after the Munich massacre, when the police forces there realized that they needed to upgrade their firearms to be more modernized. And I guess a lot of them were still carrying revolvers. And there were three companies that submitted designs: Walther, SIG, and HK. And all three of these companies created firearms that met the requirements. So all three were adopted. They became known as the P5, the P6, which is the SIG, which is just like today's P225, and the very famous HK P7, which are highly collectible and very sought after and mechanically very interesting. But this one also is very interesting. It ejects to the left side of the gun. We have a decocker, and actually I made another mistake in my previous video. This is the great thing about documenting my journey with these guns, because I learn things from you guys, and hopefully you learn some things from me, and we just go on this journey together. I'm not the definitive source of knowledge on everything, but I thought there was no way, if the magazine was out, to lock open the slide. This is the decocker and slide release right here, but if you push up on it, it doesn't lock the slide open. And then Brian messaged me and said, hey, there's a little lever up here, which doesn't look very obvious, but you can push up on it and lock the slide open. So I didn't know about that. So the slide release and the decocker are kind of one unit, but they're two pieces. Then we have this movable firing pin in the back that when you pull the trigger, it raises the firing pin up, sorry, mispronounced that. And it hits the part of the hammer where it should, instead of like the safety notch. And I guess it kind of acts like a firing pin safety. Very interesting gun. And I took this thing to the range today, and let me tell you, it definitely is a shooter. This was a really cool experience, because mechanically it's interesting. You can tell it's high quality. It's German engineering. It shoots really well. Now, is it like a modern 2011 pistol? No, it's not. The trigger isn't that nice. It's a duty gun, but for a duty pistol, very nice. At 7 yards, It's awesome. The group kind of opened up a little bit at 12 to 15 yards, which is what I would expect. I didn't shoot it as well as I was hoping to at that distance, but at 25 yards, amazing accuracy. The gun just really feels great in my hand, but it's gonna, how can I describe this? I was thinking about a car analogy on the way home from the range. I was thinking, if you have ever had the chance to drive a car from the 1980s, but today, you know, of course, if you were alive in the 80s, you drove cars from the 80s. But if you ever get a chance to drive a car that's 40 years old, you get to experience something different, because things like suspension systems, brakes, just interior designs and so forth, the layout is completely different. That these cars could be of very high quality, they're just different. It doesn't mean they're worse, and it doesn't mean that because they were made with different technology in mind and to be driven differently that they're bad cars. It just means that they're different, and that's what this gun is. You can tell it's a fun gun, it's a high quality gun, but it definitely shoots like a gun from the 80s. It's not slick and fast like a 2011. It's not as simple as a Glock, even though the Glock was, you know, from the 1980s. It's a kind of a complex mechanism that's inside this. It's different. It feels different. It feels more mechanical. It feels more complex, but it also feels very high quality. So it feels like a gun from the 80s. You know, it's like shooting an Uzi. There's just certain mechanics about it that modern guns don't have. They're slicker, they're smoother, they're built to different tolerances out of probably more modern materials. This gun shoots like it's from the 80s. It's not bad. It's a lot of fun, great gun. I love this thing. This thing is so much fun, and I'm going to be doing 3 videos with this. I'm going to be doing, of course, the range report with it. I'm going to do a field strip with it because the recoil springs are so different in this. And I also want to do a side-by-side comparison with the P6 and the P7. I have a real P7 PSP, which is actually a Lower Saxony police trade-in pistol. But I have a SIG P225, which is like the P6, and so I'm going to do a side-by-side comparison on that. And everyone loves the P7. But let me tell you, I think the P5 is the best of all 3. Yeah, amazing, amazing pistol. Very excited to get to review that, and I'll be working on those 3 videos this weekend because the owner of this, Brian, asked me to kind of bump this one up to the top. So that's what I'm going to focus on. All right, the next pistol I reviewed, Kel-Tec P11, 9mm. I guess we're going to call this a subcompact pistol. It's a little bit on the thick side because it does have a 10-round magazine. And this gun shot better than I thought it would. I have to say, even though the trigger is long and heavy, which means it's not going to be super accurate for me, but overall, it was pretty good. Sights were on. It was reliable. It hurts to shoot. Yeah, it has more recoil because it's so light. I don't think the grip and the frame were designed with ergonomics in mind. The trigger guard, this is the big problem. The trigger guard is too small, and the trigger itself is too small for my big old fat fingers. So when I'm pulling, of course, let me safety check the gun here. When I pull this double action trigger back, it's getting pinched as the trigger comes back and rubs up against the trigger guard. And then when I release it, it pinches as well. So when I got done with the review, my finger was hurting. I know some people are going to say, well, move your finger up higher on the trigger. You can't. The trigger guard is just so small and the trigger is so small. The gun just hurt. Not bad. I wouldn't want to, go to the range and shoot, 200 rounds through it. It's not that fun. Does it work? Yes. Is it a viable option? Yes. The trigger sucks. It's a Kel-Tec. It's put together with screws. I don't like that. It hurts to shoot, but it works. So the shootability of this gun, or the functionality of this gun, I should say, is pretty good. The shootability, not so much. But it surprised me. It surprised me. There's definitely a lot of things I think they could have done better with this. And this brings up another point, because I know when I have my Kel-Tec reviews get published, there's going to be the people out there that are huge Kel-Tec fans. And when I say I don't like Kel-Tecs, it doesn't mean I give them bad scores. But in general, I go into them with a little bit of a bias because I've had some of these things like fall apart at the range. Like in my hand while I'm shooting. Because I think they're such poor quality. Because what's the saying? Kel-Tecs don't need a break-in period. They just break, period. This one didn't break though. I think a lot of people like Kel-Tecs because when they first get into guns, they want to have a gun fast. And maybe they can't afford a SIG or a Smith & Wesson. So they get a real cheap Kel-Tec. And then once they get it, they're invested in it. They're like, well, I bought this gun and I saved up a lot of money for whatever it is. For them, it could be a lot of money, which is fine because the Second Amendment's for everybody, despite anybody's socioeconomic status. And I remember being super, super poor myself. And so saving up for a gun like this could have been a long time in the making. And you're like, I love this gun because it's mine. And then you see somebody say, it's not a very good gun, you need to get something else. And you're like, I have to defend my purchase. And then you save up some money again and you want another gun really fast. So instead of waiting until you can afford something that's twice or 3 times the cost of this, you just get another Kel-Tec. And eventually you get so invested in the cheap guns where you might be better if you waited a while and saved up your money and bought something a lot higher quality. And I think I need to make a video on that because I think the cults of brand worship that have evolved around guns like the Kel-Tec are based off of that, where people just want to own things quickly and have a lot of them, but don't want to save up the money and, you know, spend 2 or 3 times this amount because they want that instant gratification. But overall, good gun. Unfortunately, I only had 1 magazine for it. The mags really don't fly out of this gun too fast, and there's no other mags that are compatible with it unless it's a Smith & Wesson model. I forgot what it was, but I don't have one of those. So anyway, interesting gun. Shot okay, shot better than I thought it would, but kind of hurts to shoot. And I hate the idea that it has a pocket clip on the side because you should always carry with a holster, and this would encourage people to carry without a holster. All right, the other gun that I took to the range is the Defense DDM4 PDW in 300 blackout. This is a pistol, and it shot like a Daniel Defense. It shot smooth, it was accurate, it was fun, it's a well-balanced gun. Of course, I wish it was SBR'd. I know that the length of pull is probably a little bit short for this because it's a pistol and not an SBR. The stock on this is way better than the ones from Q. The ones from Q that look very much like this and function very similar, they pinch my cheek. This one does not. This is a much better thought out system. It's much easier to shoot. It just works so much better. It's way more comfortable. I need to double check with the owner of this D if this trigger is stock. It has a flat face trigger in it, but it might not be. And I needed to denote that for the review. But it was a great gun. It shoots supers and subs, both unsuppressed and suppressed. And some people say, you're an idiot for even trying to shoot subs through an unsuppressed firearm. I always argue that there are people in this country, you can't look at the world through just your perspective. There might be people that live in a jurisdiction that they're allowed to own a braced pistol. They can't own an SBR, so they can own this firearm, and maybe they can't own a suppressor. And due to financial situations or the world at large and politics and all that, the only ammunition they can get is subsonic 300 blackout because there's a lot of it out there. And so they want to know, can you run this unsuppressed with subsonic ammunition? That's why I always test it. And I think people that say it's stupid to do that are not looking at the realities of other people's situations and not taking into account the blessings of their life that maybe they can own a suppressor or they can own this as an SBR. But it ran great. The only functional issues I had was when I ran this gun suppressed and ran subs. It's weird. The gun runs great unsuppressed, subsonic, but suppressed, which normally would give you more back pressure and make it run more reliably, I had quite a few feeding issues. It gets a little bit hot around the handguard, but fun gun, in an SBR configuration, this might be my favorite 300 blackout, to be honest with you. So I would love to get to shoot this as an SBR. Just great gun. So it's going to be kind of a, it's going to get a good rating. All right, and speaking of shooting this suppressed, I also filmed all the content I needed for a review of a SilencerCo Omega. It's the Omega 300. I think is what it's called. Omega 30 or 300. Just 300 cal or 30 cal. So yeah, that's what it is. The Omega 30, I guess. And it's a really nice suppressor. The tone of this suppressor is great. Very impressed with this. But this is not one of those that's a flow-through baffle design, and you definitely get a lot of back pressure. This can has more back pressure than any other suppressor I have ever reviewed. But the tone is really good. The other advantage to this, and some people may not like this, because this uses that SilencerCo, I forgot what they call it, like the ratcheting system, you can actually easily get this suppressor off the gun when it's hot. One of the complaints I have when it comes to taper lock suppressors and muzzle devices is once the gun gets hot, it's designed to lock the suppressor on so it doesn't come off. But what if you need to take it off for some reason? Maybe you're done shooting, you want to put it back in the bag, you got to take the suppressor off, or maybe you're at a range, you want to go between unsuppressed and suppressed, or whatever the situation is, you got to wait for that thing to cool off. This one, you don't. I like the mounting system of this one. I like the tone of this one. And ballistically, it changes almost nothing between super and subsonic ammunition, unsuppressed and suppressed. Performance of this suppressor is great. Biggest downside is going to be the resistance. And it gets kind of hot, even for 300 blackout, and stays hot. I was surprised about that. But I got to look at what the material of this is. This might be an Inconel suppressor, or it might be stainless steel. Hard to tell. So overall, really good. As I said, every suppressor is going to have pros and cons. So if you don't mind the back pressure or need the back pressure, it might be the way to go. So those are the 4 things that I reviewed. So now let's talk about some upcoming projects. Now, Brian, the owner of this Walther P5, also messaged me and said, hey, I have another gun you might be interested in. Let's meet up and I'll let you borrow it. And this one, you don't have to rush. And I was like, well, what is it? He says, have you ever shot a CZ70? No, I've shot a CZ75. I like CZ's nomenclature because you know what year the gun came out. And this is, here it is, the CZ70. It is chambered in 32 ACP. It's kind of a big gun for 32 ACP. It kind of reminds me of, I guess, a Walther PPK-ish gun, or maybe a SIG, what is it, the P232? Very similar to that design, but we have a safety in a kind of a different place. I think the takedown's a little bit different. Interesting firearm, and it's really cool, and I like it. Really heavy for a 32, so I'm going to assume this is going to recoil pretty light, and it is direct blowback. So maybe that's going to mitigate some of that. We'll just have to see. And I have to learn the manual of arms of this gun because I think maybe there's not a slide release on this. So if the magazine's in, the only thing I've noticed is you got to drop the mag to pull the slide back to drop the slide. I know I have a decocker right there, so if the gun is cocked, let's see here. I can decock it as well as put it on safe, but I don't think there's a slide release. And I only got 1 mag for this one as well. But it's a numbers matching gun, and CZ70. Yeah, so that's going to be a cool gun to review because I don't know how much content out there is on that. And then, oh, also, Brian also donated some ammunition for that review. And these are hollow points. I think I got a box or a box and a half of 32 ACP ball ammunition. So I should have enough for that review. And he says he's not sure if jacketed hollow points are going to run in that gun. We got one more thing to talk about, and it's coming back to a gun I showed you in the past, and this one's going to go to the range pretty soon. This is the Star. I did some research on this, and there's a couple of letters here on the bottom of the grip, which I thought might have been like a inspector mark, or maybe the previous owner in the past had marked it this way, but it said BM. And it turns out that's the model. This is the Star Model BM. And I mentioned how it was missing a grip screw, and who knows where that went. And it's not the same as a Beretta screw or a 1911 screw. So I went online and I found some. And we're gonna actually see if I can install these. Now, the ones that are on the pistol are chrome, but I was only able to find stainless steel ones. I can find a whole bunch of blued ones, but I knew that wouldn't look good. So I ordered some stainless ones, and these are Torx head. So I need to see if these are gonna work. It looks like they will. So let's get some tools here and see what I need. Oh boy. Let's get a knife to open that package. And I know I got my gunsmithing toolbox over here with all my tools in it. So let me see if I can install these grips. Let me get down here real fast. I really got to reorganize my toolbox. All right, so let's see what we got here. And this just, I'm trying to show people too that when I have guns in for review, I do my best to take care of them. And if the gun's missing a part, and if I can find that part for them, I will definitely replace it if I can track the part down. I will need another screwdriver here, or maybe I have it in my box. Yeah, we got it here. All right, so let's take off the old grips. Of course, let's drop the magazine and ensure the gun is empty. And then we'll take off this side, which is missing the grip screw. This should be relatively easy. They're not on there all that tight. All right. They look the same length. Unfortunately, these are just stainless instead of chrome or nickel plated. I'm not really sure what it is. I'm not honestly a big fan of nickel plated guns. I know some people think they're beautiful and gorgeous, but nickel never looks right. And then as it starts to degrade and come off a gun, you can't fix it. It's not like bluing where you can change it up and repair it. All right, so let's see if I can find the right head for this. Sorry if this is a little boring. Was lucky and got the first one, and I think it's it. And I think those stainless steel ones are going to look good if these fit. So come on, let's see. Will they fit? And I think they will. So I won't tighten them down too much. I don't want to break the grips, but yeah, they're going in. And let's make sure they don't go all the way through the frame. And they do not. So I think I was successful in this. I'm not 100% sure if these are like factory original. I'm assuming not. They're just screws that happen to be the same size. And people that sell gun parts know them, so they can sell them. And oh yeah, this is going to turn out really nice. And make sure those don't go through the frame, and it looks like we're good. All right, so we just changed out the grip screws on this Star BM, and we have some now modern ones, stainless steel, but I think it looks the part. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to find any stainless steel ones that use a regular screwdriver head. So it's the best that I can do, but I'll bag up the old ones here. Got 3 of them, And when I return this gun, when it's all cleaned up back to the owner, and after I review it, he'll have extra grip screws. So there we go. So that is the upcoming projects and the first impressions of quite a few things. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And if you watched to the end of the video, the word of the day is... the word of the day is going to be screw. Screw, because I changed out some grip screws. And when it comes to your comments, use that word appropriately, or not. Who cares? I'm not your daddy. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Just make sure you follow YouTube's guidelines. All right, so that's it. So tell me what you think about anything I talked about in this video, any firearms I shot, my thoughts on them, and what do you think about the upcoming projects. So thank you, everybody that has lent things to the channel. I forgot to mention my friend Jack number 1 on the Kel-Tec P11. So thank you, Brian, for the Walther P5 and the CZ70 for me to borrow and create content with. Thank you, Jack number 1, for the Kel-Tec P11. Thank you, D, for the Daniel Defense and the SilencerCo. And thank you, Alan, for the Star. So I could not create the content that I do without an amazing bunch of people behind me and supporting my channel. So thank you. I am honored and humbled beyond words. I tell you guys all the time, I am the most blessed YouTuber out there. I might not be the biggest, I might not be the most charismatic, but I am the most blessed. So thank you for all you do for me. I'm humbled and honored, and I'm so glad to be able to bring you this content. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.